This is Fans on the Run, a podcast made by, for, and about Beatles fans. And now, here's your host, Ethan Alexanian.
Welcome back to Fans on the Run. Out of all of the Beatles... You know, I'm not even going to make that joke. I've made that joke for like the past 4 episodes. Again, somebody out there, please tell me if I'm not funny. Because no one has told me yet if my jokes aren't funny. So I'm just going to keep saying my unfunny jokes until proven otherwise. Again, your daily dose of senile ramblings with Fans on the Run. Anyways, we have a special guest for you today. We have our first guest who isn't from Canada, the USA, or the UK. All the way... Actually, no. Mystery guest, how would you describe yourself?
Myself or my country?
How would you describe yourself?
I describe myself as a second and a half generation Beatles fan from the Netherlands, where I was born and raised, and named after the Beatles' wives. So my first name is Maureen, or Maureen, yeah, doesn't matter how you pronounce it, the English way or the US way. And I have 3 other names, which are Linda, Yoko, Patty. So,
oh, wow.
The 4 names, Maureen for Maureen Cox, Linda Mccartney, Yoko, who doesn't know Yoko, oh no, and Patty from Patty Boyd. So 4 names of the Beatles' wives. So now you can guess a little bit why, how I actually became a Beatles fan. Obviously, I didn't give those names myself. My dad did that. And I have 2 sisters, 1 younger sister called Patty Linda Eleanor from Eleanor Rigby. I got an older sister. She's called Cynthia, John Lennon's first wife. And then her 2 other names are Pauline, Matilda, the P from Paul, the M from McCartney. And last but not least, I have a half-brother who is called George, John, Paul, Ringo. No kidding. This is all.
It runs in the family.
It does.
And with that,
yeah.
Direct from the Netherlands, please welcome to the show, Maureen Neger-Manders.
Yes.
I you told me right before the show how to pronounce it, and I probably already butchered it.
It was okay. It was not bad. It was not bad at all.
Yeah.
It's
probably not the worst you've heard.
No, definitely not. So yeah. It's all good. It's all good.
So how are you doing today?
Doing good. The weather is good here in the Netherlands. So, we have some sun. It's a little bit fresher today, but the weather will go up, and we do not do the Fahrenheit. We do the Celsius. So,
Like me. Me.
Good.
Yeah.
So
the proper way, Americans.
Yeah, exactly. So,
get with the rest of the world.
Yeah. I mean, a lot do that, right? So, I don't know what's in Fahrenheit, but it's around 22 degrees, and it's going up. So it's what we call a Dutch summer, not too hot. Sometimes there is a little bit of clouds, overcast. Sometimes there's a little bit of rain, but this is the Netherlands. This is our normal summer, so I'm happy.
You sound like you're lucky because it's about 30 out today. And that's we're going through a bit of a heat wave right now, and we had a massive storm yesterday that resulted in a tornado warning.
Oh, wow. Well, we don't have those here in the Netherlands. Yeah.
Well, you banished them all over to here.
Yeah, exactly. We just waved them away, go to the other side of the ocean.
Yeah.
So, yeah. No, but I'm doing fine. Doing fine. And again, I'm happy to be on the show as a non-famous person, that has achieved something.
But the thing is, that doesn't matter with this show. It doesn't matter if you're extremely well known or nobody knows who you are. The prerequisite for being on the show is, are you a fan of the Beatles? And I'm gonna break the fourth wall. I'm actually talking to Mo via a video chat, and I can see her Beatles room behind her, and so she meets that prerequisite.
Good. Thanks.
She was put in touch with me through our lovely matchmaker, Susan Ryan. If you haven't out there listened to the episode with Susan, go do it now. It's one of the good ones. But yeah, I think I'm just going to dive right in.
Yeah.
Mo. You don't mind if I call you Mo, right?
No, I mean, again, Maureen Cox was called Mo as well. Everybody, So, yeah, not a problem at all. It's easier, right?
That's kind of why I was calling you Mo. All right. Maureen, how did you first discover the Beatles?
Well, I didn't have to discover them. I was born and raised with the Beatles. So my dad was let's call him a Beatlemaniac. He was born in 1951, and he obviously was a Beatles fan. So when we were born, if I had been a boy, I probably would have been Paul, and my elder sister would be John. But we were girls, so my dad had to do something. So therefore, he picked the Beatles-wife's name. So it was Beatles music every single day. So obviously I don't remember my first probably 2-3 years, but believe me, it was Beatles every single day. And so basically I didn't have to discover them. I just grew up with them. And my dad, he bought all the records, and he actually also he taught me a line of names, Beatle related people. So, obviously the Beatles names, then the Beatles wives, then, the two that I remembered from that whole string were Brian Epstein and George Martin, as let's say, the non-Beatles people. So he had us listen to it. And, again, I also had been singing the songs when I'm little, not knowing actually what the lyrics were about, because again, it was in a different language, because obviously I speak Dutch and not English. So day in, day out, we heard the music. So it was not voluntarily. It was brought upon us. But in hindsight, that was okay. Back then, it wasn't so much fun as a kid.
Well, anything your parents force you to do or listen to
Exactly.
doesn't seem good at the time, but it seems to have really paid off now.
Definitely. And, to go a little bit in chronological order, my parents divorced when I was 7 or 8. And my dad, I think, in hindsight, he probably had something going on, right? He wasn't always the best dad, and, there wasn't always fun in the house. So, at a point when my parents divorced and we got, out of, or my dad left, we didn't listen to any Beatles anymore. We were actually kind of sick and tired of them, because it was, again,
Sick and tired of the Beatles?
I mean, I don't know how I can say that now, because that is really past. But that was, I was 7. And, to have to listen to the Beatles every single day, again, as a kid, it wasn't fun. I didn't know, much about the Beatles. I only heard the music day in, day out. And so, I abandoned the Beatles. That's why I also say I'm like a 2.5 generation and not really a second, because it's not that I grew from the day that I was born, was a Beatles fan, continued to be a Beatles fan. I had say that I took a break from them.
Yeah.
And
I was just going to ask, what is your earliest distinct memory involving the Beatles?
Well, I think the most vivid one is when John Lennon got shot, because I was 6 years old at the time. I'm from 1974. And this is how big of a fan my dad was. He actually got us out of bed at, 5 a.m. to watch the news on TV. It was all over on TV. So, he put us on the couch and we had to watch, what happened with John Lennon. I didn't understand it. I only know that it was bad, because obviously, that's what my dad really, I guess, expressed. And it was important. That's all I actually knew. So I see myself as a 6-year-old sitting watching TV, and hear about it, not really understanding. I didn't really understand what death was. I didn't understand what, murder was. I only know that something bad happened to one of the Beatles, which was my dad's life at that moment in time. So that is the really one that stands out. And and the other thing, as I mentioned, that I had to learn the names of the Beatles. Had to learn. It was not that bad. I was proud of having, of learning that line at the time. So it wasn't bad. And yeah, I mean, there are some songs that when I hear them now, they kind of bring me back to when I was little. Songs like "If I Fell" is one.
Mm-hmm.
Another
that was
one.
My dad's favorite Beatles song.
Yeah, it's again, I don't have a favorite one. I don't ask me if I have a favorite one, because I do not. Right? I only have one unfavorite one. You can almost guess which one that is. Involves a number. So
you'll get to that. We'll get to
exactly. So if I hear "If I Fell," if I hear the word, if I hear rock and roll music, even, that actually gives me a very uplifting feeling, because I always, it's just an uplifting. It's not, I know it's not originally Beatles, but when I hear it, I want to dance, right? I'm happy then. So, so there's some songs that when I hear them, sometimes give me like melancholic feelings. Some make me very happy, and I cannot necessarily pinpoint exactly what that is, but it just it's a feeling that comes up, and again, one day it's a little bit of a different feeling than another one, but I can really listen to them and then enjoy them, even though that feeling may be melancholic or happy or whatever, right? So yeah.
So what is the first Beatles album that you remember having yourself that wasn't just a family album?
Wow. Okay, so my dad died in 1997. Yeah, and he was 44 years old. So he died of presumably a heart attack. But he had Beatles stuff. We weren't in touch with him at that point, but we got to learn about him dying. And we were invited to the house of his then wife. And obviously my dad had Beatles records. So we were with... I just mentioned that, I had a half-brother and 2 sisters, but on my half-brother side, there's also 2 sisters from his side, so technically my stepsister. So we were 6 children, right, that, wanted to have something from his collection. So we went to his house, and we divided, his Beatles collections records. I know that I did not get the White Album. I think my sister got that one. I know that. But, I had, I don't know, 8 or 9 records. I also inherited the BC13 Beatles collection box, blue box. And
blue box.
Exactly. And that had actually every album in it. And
so you got the White Album by default.
Yes, but not as the let's say as a separate record. So basically, I got them all in one go, plus a few other records that I have multiple times now. So there is not one album. Basically, I got them all, because when he died, we divided some of his record collection.
Well, I think that's the way to go. Getting your first Beatles album is getting all of the Beatles albums at once
in one go. Yeah, definitely. So it's and it's something that I also cherish. I will never ever sell that thing. Maybe or they can sell it after my death. Doesn't matter. But it's those records. My dad was really. He also had a lot of duplicate albums, because he had one for safekeeping and I guess one for playing. So yeah, it's that's also how that was the start of my record collection, basically, as well.
Would you consider yourself a Beatles record collector?
I do have a few records. There is a few crates. I mean, I know you can see me. The people that listen to this cannot, but there is some crates.
Oh.
Yeah, a yellow submarine crate. I have there 2 other crates.
Oh, wow.
And then here, not sure if you can see it, but that's a crate with box sets and stuff. Yeah, so yes, I'm a Beatles record collection, but I must say I do not really collect certain pressings per se, right? When I go out, to wherever, record fairs and stuff, I just buy what I think looks great, is interesting, and obviously I know from the prices whether it's more special or not. So yeah, I think I am a record collector, but I'm not that knowledgeable with all the pressings. And I know that I have German pressings and UK pressings and US pressings. I have everything, but just because I didn't have them and I saw them and it was a good price, or it was like, oh yeah, I really want that one. So yeah, kind of, sort of.
I wish I was in a position like you are in the Netherlands, to go to one of those European record fairs where you're able to get stuff from like all over the continent. Because here, the most exotic stuff you can usually find is American pressings.
Right.
Up here in Canada. Maybe British if you're lucky. Maybe some German, Japanese if you're at like a specialty shop. But I am very envious of that.
Yeah, and again, I live very very near to the German border, so we also sometimes go to Germany, go to some bigger cities, find records shops, and buy stuff, and then a lot of that obviously is then German pressings because you're in Germany, and in the Netherlands you would get Dutch pressings. But we have a very big fair, and it happens twice a year, and it's a big record and CD fair, and it's so big that the first time that we went there, we did.
Is that the one that I don't know how to say the name. It starts with a U.
Utrecht.
That's
Yes,
the one.
That's the one, and it's huge. So we've been there, I think, a few years ago for the first time. We did I think half a big hall, and there were I think 2 or 3 more to go. In one day, and it's a 2-day fair. We just didn't get through it. There was so much, and there is so much Beatles stuff. It's incredible. So, and I cannot just walk by without having to, having looked at the records. And it's mainly records. So they also do sell CDs, but I'm not so interested in CDs. I do have some CDs inherited from my dad, but, I love the vinyl, yeah. And the vinyl, you have something in your hands, you have the artwork, you have the record. It's, old school, but,
I mean, I listen a lot to Spotify and, I stream my music digitally, but I feel like I have to own a vinyl copy in order to really appreciate an album or something. So I feel like I have a physical representation of my enjoyment of a particular album or band or single.
Definitely. And then I also have a few cassettes, The cassettes are just, the best.
Yeah.
I grew up with those things, yeah, and with the vinyl. And therefore, when the CDs came out and when you had this, just little thing in your hands that I didn't really like it. So, never really liked it. And basically, the only reason why I buy CDs from the Beatles is because, those little things,
Ew.
And the booklets, they are very small, And when you have an LP in your hand, when you have the Sgt. Pepper in your hand, you have something. Right? So,
well, I think I've told this story on the show before, and I'll keep telling it. The reason I got into collecting Beatles records is, the Paul is dead theory, right?
Yes.
What got me in was knowing that if you held a little, knife or, mirror up to the Sgt. Pepper bass drum, it says 111X, he die, with a little arrow pointing up at Paul. And so I thought, I have to go get a copy of this.
Right.
And then, I got it, and then I got the butter knife out, and then I was so excited, and now I have hundreds, and now it's an addiction.
Yeah, well, that is the thing, right? Once you get into it, I mean, if you would have asked me before my dad died if I was ever going to be a Beatles fan, I would have said you were crazy. Yeah, because obviously the Beatles, I had it with the Beatles at that point in time. But when my dad died, I started actually wondering, what on earth was it about the Beatles that him made us, that he named us after the Beatles' wives. We actually had puppy dogs. They were Ringo, John, George, and Paul as well. So I thought, what was it? That why was he such a big fan? I really started wondering, and you can say it's too late, it's after he died, but that really triggered me to start listening to the Beatles again and start, wondering. And I left it alone for some years, and I think it must be maybe around 10 years ago that I started to really, really get into it, starting to buy books, starting to learn more about them, starting to see more stuff and read more stuff online, and you get hooked. Yeah. So whatever happened to me, it must have happened to my dad at that moment in time. So it was like, okay, it's an interesting, bunch of lads from Liverpool that, did some interesting stuff. There's a lot documented on it. So I kind of now understand better why, he loved the Beatles, the way he did. So yeah, it was, it's good. It's fun. And, everything about the Beatles that I can find, can learn about, or events, I go to because, it was a big part of my life, whether I want it or not. And it is a big part of my life, and it always will be a big part of my life. So yeah.
I want to ask, comparatively to, the UK and US, how popular are the Beatles still in the Netherlands?
I think they are pretty still out there. We have this radio station. It's for I don't consider myself old, but I'm from 74, so I'm in my 40s, and there is there's certain radio stations in the Netherlands that there is one that you listen to when you are, between your 20 and your 30. And then when you go over 30 or, towards the 40, there's another station that does not play all the popular music, but, goes more to the older music. And the Beatles are on there pretty frequently. So when I'm in my car, without having to put on something myself, I hear the Beatles coming by. So they are still pretty big. And also we have, at the end of the year, we have what we call a top 2000. So that is where the whole country can vote, the best 2000 records ever made, or songs ever made, I should say. And the Beatles are in there, I think, the most with, I don't know, maybe 40 listings. And then the Stones are there, obviously, as well, a lot. So, there is a lot of people that do remember the Beatles, that do want to hear that Beatles. It's a big thing at the end of the year, just before Christmas. Between Christmas and New Year, sorry. And it counts down until New Year's Eve, till 12 o'clock. So, and there is a lot of Beatles, and I always try to tune in, but it's 24/7, right? So it could be that Beatles songs are actually played during the night when I'm in bed.
Yeah.
So, but we have that actually on all day, and there's a lot of Beatles in there, and I always vote for the Beatles. My list, you can put in, I think, 30 or 35 songs per person. Mine has been Beatles. Only Beatles, I think for the past 2 years. So yeah.
Have they ever gotten to number one on that list?
Imagine was in that time that it was the shooting in Paris.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, and then Imagine, I think became some sort of an anthem, throughout Europe, at least. So that's when Imagine was a number one. But normally it's a Bohemian Rhapsody or Led Zeppelin. It's those ones. But the Beatles are quite high up in the list. So but yeah, number one. Sadly, it Imagine. Came number one. And then again, it's not even Beatles, right? It's John Lennon, but still.
Yeah. So I want to ask you, what is your favorite memory involving being a Beatles fan, or a memory involving the Beatles in some way?
I have tons of fun memories.
Please tell them. So, we got time.
My first time, Paul McCartney, in 2016. It was my first time that I went to a concert, and it was actually a festival in the Netherlands, Pinkpop. It's a yearly festival. I think last year they were 50 years. So they started also, I think in the 70s, and or even a little bit earlier than that. And I went to see Paul McCartney for the first time ever.
Is that the festival that a couple years ago had the stage collapse?
No. I think that was in Germany, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. This is in the. In the.
It was some name that sounded like that.
Right. Yeah. No, it's not. Not that I can remember. It was not Pinkpop, but I sometimes go there, when there's bands that I'd like to see. And I already wanted to go there because of another band, Rammstein. Not sure if you know them. Very German, very good as well. But they were announced. So, I was thinking,
very
okay.
German.
Yeah. So I already thought, for that year, let's maybe get then a ticket on the day that band came. And then Paul McCartney was announced. It was like, now I need to get a weekend ticket because I now want to be there for sure. So, I got the weekend tickets, and, it was a great weekend with a lot of big names, Rammstein being one of them. But Paul McCartney was the headliner, and was closing the festival on Sunday. So we went there. We went into I guess the area that is that you can go in, and then at 8 point they close it because there's in front of the stage. So I knew that if I was gonna go out there, I would lose my spot instantly. Yeah. So we were there as from 2:00 in the afternoon until I think maybe 9:30 in the evening. We also had to see Lionel Richie because he was, you by definition, if you're there, you have to, the whole lineup of that afternoon, you're going to have to see.
Yeah. What's wrong with Lionel Richie?
It's okay. I wouldn't really, he was there. Yeah. But there was some other.
That's the most glowing endorsement of Lionel Richie. Lionel Richie, he was there.
He was there, yeah. And again, it was a fun show, I was surprised how energetic he was as well at his age. But you have to endure also some acts that you normally would not necessarily go and listen to. But, front row, had to stay there. So met a few Americans that were there. I think the guy worked in for the army, so he was stationed in the Netherlands or in Germany. So we got to talk with him, and then in the afternoon, then this Pinkpop show is always covered by the big radio station and TV. So there was this guy, a DJ, very famous DJ that also does TV and radio, and he came out and goes like, "Who is here for Paul McCartney?" Right? So it was obviously me waving, other people waving. So he actually, went to speak to the guy next to me, the American guy, and his daughters. And but I had been speaking to him as well, told him about my, names, etc. So actually, he then pointed out to the DJ and said, you need to interview her over there. Yeah, she has an interesting story. So they interviewed me. I was on TV, national TV.
Oh, wow.
actually on that same day. And I didn't even, when you have an interview, you never know if it's being broadcasted or what is being broadcasted, right? So, they had a big ass camera, in my face, and it was a little bit intimidating, I must say, So, but yeah,
Well, I'd be intimidated too if someone had a big fucking camera in front of me.
Oh yeah, but it's really in your face. So so he asked me, "Is this a little bit intimidating?" I said, "Yeah." So he backed out, and then obviously they can use Zoom, yeah, on those things. So yeah, I told him about my names and the story, and actually it got broadcasted during the runs of that festival, and it was fun, So I'm in this feature of like 8 or 10 minutes about Paul McCartney, where they're interviewing different, people behind the scenes and some famous Dutch people, etc. And I'm in that, with my interview as well. So
you're famous now.
Pretty cool.
And your fame is only increasing with your appearance on Fans on the Run.
Oh yes, it should be, definitely.
All 6 of my listeners will certainly will be your biggest fans.
Yeah. So that was really fun, and I have the clip. Obviously, I downloaded it, and when I was watching, because that festival I think is 50 years old, or it was last year. So they were doing, let's say, the top 50. 50 at Pink Pop, and then, they were counting down from 50 and also some viewers' choices and stuff. And then I guess not on number 1, unfortunately, but I think number 11 was Paul McCartney. So, I was just, doing my thing. We had it actually as background. We had it on. And then I heard Paul McCartney. So it's like, this was my first concert of Paul McCartney where I got the interview. And then you see Paul McCartney, and then, you see me coming up. So, I'm caught in one screen with Paul McCartney on TV. It's like, this is awesome, right? I do not get any closer to Paul McCartney than this, right? So that was really awesome. That was really cool.
The most interaction I've had with Paul McCartney was I saw him the same year, 2016, in Hamilton, Ontario, and I was kind of up in the balcony a little, side of the stage. I wasn't sure if he could see me, but everyone in my row was trying to get Paul to notice me.
Yeah.
So they're like, Paul, up here! And I was wearing my Sgt. Pepper costume. And at one point, Paul looked over, I think, at me. No, not I think. He looked at me, and he gave me like a little air fist, but I'm like, woo!
Right.
And I haven't lived that down since.
Right, yeah.
It's the peak of my existence.
I definitely can imagine that, and I haven't, I didn't come close to, any Beatle as such. I did see Ringo as well. That was awesome as well, right? I mean, again, Ringo, he is not the best singer, but it doesn't matter. No, he's fun.
Ringo.
He is Ringo. Yeah. Definitely.
You don't see him for the musical ability. You see him for the fact that he is Ringo.
Definitely. So I saw him in I think 2018 at the
I saw him in 2018
as well.
Go. He was different side of the earth.
Yeah, he was in the Netherlands. We had to drive 2.5 hours, which is pretty far for the Netherlands because we are a small country. I think if you go from south to north, 4 or 5 hours
drive. We had to drive about 5 or 6 hours to Pittsburgh in the USA.
Yeah, so but for you guys over there, 2.5 hours is nothing. For us, it's we're going to almost the north of the country, right? So so it was the Holland International Blues Festival where he was also headlining. So and I said to my husband, I have to see Ringo. Yeah, and he goes like 2.5 hours. Okay, let's go. Right. So we got the tickets, got to see him, and that was just pure fun. It was Ringo being Ringo, the peace and love, and it was awesome. And he's just a funny guy. I mean, he also, I mean, I'm not sure if you were going to ask me, but, I can already tell you the answer now. I do not have a favorite Beatle. I think, if they weren't there, the 4 of them, as the Beatles, they weren't the Beatles. right? Not
wouldn't
as
have
we
happened.
exactly, not as we know them, but Ringo is just, I love Ringo because he's just funny, right? He is really a funny one. He's cool. When I see him, especially in the older clips, when I see him doing the drums and, shaking the head like he does and then smiling, he makes me smile. He's fun. So another great memory of seeing Ringo. And my other very nice memories are having been to the International Beatleweek in Liverpool. Have you ever been there?
I haven't been there, but I've been to the kind of equivalent, the Fest for Beatles fans in the U.S.
Yeah, was it the New York one or?
I was at the Chicago
one. Okay. So you have International Beatle Week. I only got to learn, I'm ashamed to say, I only got to learn about that a few years ago when we were at that big ass fair in Utrecht, and there was a stand with a few people from the UK, and they had all Beatles stuff. So I was there, seeing if I wanted to buy something, for a good price. And they go like, oh, are you coming to International Beatle Week? And we go like, International Beatle Week? What's that? So, it's been going on for a long, long time. I think also started maybe in the 80s. But they were saying that, the format of it would be changing and, that this year, and that was in 2017, would be the last year in a certain format or, with many venues where things were going on. So, and obviously, I was listening, she gave me some flyers and it's like, I said to my husband, I said, I really want to go there. There was actually not a big festival going on with also some big names, but it was either Liverpool Beatleweek or that festival. My choice was, very easy.
Yeah.
My husband was like, we're gonna, miss out on this, on those bands, for your Beatles stuff, for your Beatles week. But actually he agreed to go with me. And he's not a Beatles fan. He plays guitar, so he can play their music, and he can sing their songs, and he sometimes does that. But he's not the biggest Beatles fan. So it was, he obviously was also interested, because we were going to Liverpool, obviously, where it all began. So
it's Liverpool.
It's Liverpool, exactly. It's Liverpool. So we went there without any expectations. We bought a golden wristband, and then it gives you access to different events, without having to pay extra for it. And you have different colors of wristband. You have a white album band. You have there's a yellow, from Yellow Submarine. There is different things. But we had a gold. That is it was the most expensive ticket that you could get. But I thought, if we go there, let's do it right. Let's get access to everything that we can get access to. And I also booked in that week a private Beatles tour, which was also awesome. But Beatles week first. So we went there. I didn't know what to expect. And they have on Sunday a Beatles Convention. And this is a standard thing. It's in the Adelphi Hotel in Liverpool. And I saw pictures of it. And it's basically, there's a lot of stands with, where they sell Beatles memorabilia, books, a lot of Beatles. It's Beatles heaven, basically. When you walk there, it's Beatles heaven. And but also there are appearing then guests, that also are being interviewed, or speak. And it was people that actually have worked with, or done something with the Beatles when the Beatles were alive. So
Do you remember who any of the guests were?
Yes. So in 2017, and I had to, I did write some down because it was a lot of people. But in 2000, and because we went twice, and in 2017, we met David Bedford, I think, who you interviewed as well. And
love you, Dave.
Hi, Dave. So met him actually, and I got to meet him because I was in touch with Michael Hill. Have you heard about Michael Hill? So
Yes.
he wrote a book. That was called John Lennon, the Boy Who Became a Legend. He was an old school friend from John Lennon back in the days. So he wrote a book, and he lives in Australia now. So I got in touch with him actually, prior to going to Beatleweek. And, he had some books that, he said, I was looking for a book. What was it, from Michael Brown, if I remember well. So he had a copy from 1963, 1964. So he said, I can take that with you too.
Is that Love Me Do, the Beatles Progress?
Yes. Yeah, that one. And, I wanted to have that one. And he had a duplicate, so he said, he was going to Liverpool for International Beatleweek. I was going there. He said, I can bring it from Australia because shipping costs are ridiculous. Yeah, from Australia, probably to anywhere, but to the Netherlands, it's ridiculous. So, and he had a few other books. So he actually brought those books. And I actually did read his book. Yeah, and it's if you haven't read it, read it. It's super easy to follow. It's really fun. It's about John Lennon before he actually, was famous. I really liked the book, and then all the mischief and stuff that they did when they were young. It's really funny. But again, so he actually, agreed to meet up. So we, spent some time with him, had some coffees. He brought me the books. And so then, David Bedford, I think, was helping him to distribute his books in the Europe side. So that's how I met David. There was an event that was the Woolton at the Woolton grounds, St. Peter's Church, where Paul and John met in July
57.
In 57. So it was 60 years ago today, that day, or around about that day. So they had, they recreated, that fairground. It was behind St. Peter's Church where it all happened. And Julia Lennon was there. So John's sister. So I met her, had a small chat with her. The Quarrymen were playing.
Oh,
How
wow.
cool is that? So I saw them playing. It was really, really nice. They had the T-Jazz bass and everything, right? It was really, really cool. And so I enjoyed that. I met those guys as well, got their autographs, had a fun chat with Len Gary, who actually I ran into on Matthew Street the year after. So, it's really funny. Mark Lewison was there. So I had a chat with him, and he's an interesting guy. So he had a Q&A session, and
Mark is awesome.
he is.
I hope to have him on this show one day.
Oh yeah, I hope that you get him on the show. He is. First of all, he's a very, very nice guy, and he knows so much. Yeah. So there was this lady asking something, something in the form of, a friend of mine saw John Lennon at that and that date, in that year, in that area, and he goes like, well, it cannot have been John, because at that moment in time he was visiting, his dad, I think, was somewhere else. It was like, really? So that was exactly. It's really, really cool. But he's a really nice guy. I actually got to meet him after his Q&A session, and I got to chat with him, and he actually had a quote, and that quote actually I think is the best. I cannot word for word say it, but it was something in the form of that a true Beatles fan is always a person with a good heart. Mm-hmm. And when he said that, it was like, wow, it's a strong quote. It's and it's also something that made me think about my dad, right? I mean, my dad has done, stupid stuff, yeah. Mm-hmm. But I was thinking, there must have been, if Mark Lewison says, and then I really have a lot of respect for the guy, then it means something, yeah. If somebody says something, so it was like, that is a great quote, and it was like awesome, and I will never forget that, because it was like, I think that's right. I think if you're a true Beatles fan, yeah, you are good at heart. You're not a mean and nasty person. You cannot be, because the music of the Beatles was not about that either. So
no, it wasn't.
So that was really something that really I remember. We'll remember forever. We also met Larry Kane, the journalist who went on the Beatles. I think the only journalist in 1964, 1965, and he was such a nice guy, right? And so we had to wait in line for him to meet him, and obviously we got his autograph, got a picture with him, and we got to chat, and I think we talked for with him for, I don't know, maybe over half an hour. But we went from the Beatles, I don't know how, we went from the Beatles to the U.S. politics.
Oh, wow.
So that was interesting. But yeah, that was cool. I mean, you're just meeting these people who actually have worked with the Beatles, or played music with the Beatles. John's sister, Michael Hill, who's an old school friend. It's like, how close can you get to the Beatles? How more close can you get to them other than meeting them yourself, right? Which is almost impossible, I think. And in 2018. I saw Pattie Boyd. I wanted to actually talk to her, but she was I think actually having tea or something. And I was like, I'm not gonna bother her. I mean, she's a person. She needs to eat, and she has stuff to do. So did see her. Did not get to talk to her. So that was a little bit of a mischance, I guess. But it is what it is. So I met Tom Murray, the photographer of Mad Day Out, Beatles Mad Day Out, and he's such a nice man. Really, really lovely. I bought a picture, from that session, and with his autograph on it, and he was also a very nice guy. I mean, a lot of the people that I actually spoke to, they're not arrogant or, even though they have, or they work or doing stuff for the Beatles with the Beatles, really, really nice people. And so I met Leslie Cavendish, the Beatles hairdresser.
Yeah. Also
had a Q&A. There was a Q&A session, so that was kind of interesting. The Beatles hairdresser, and Pete Best. I met, but that was actually by accident. So that made it even more fun. Yeah. So.
By accident?
By accident, yes. Because, it wasn't, obviously we were in Liverpool, so, what are the chances? Yeah, but but actually, we went in 2017, we went to the Casbah Club to have the coffee club, to have a tour. It was part of the private Beatles tour, and then we got the tour from Rory Best, so one of Pete's brothers. And so we were there, and it was also really great. He's also really, really lovely. But his other brother, Rogue Best. Neil Aspinall's son. He has a Beatles museum, the magical what is it? Beatles Magical History Museum. I think they now changed name very recently. Okay. Yeah.
I thought it was just called the Liverpool Beatles Museum.
I think that is what it is now, but it was, I think, the Beatles
something
History
like that.
Museum, something like that. But that was new, so I wanted to go there because we went to the original Beatles Museum in 2017, but this is the year after. So I don't know exactly what we were doing or where we have been, but it was later in the afternoon, and I was like, let's see if we can still make it into the museum, because I really wanted to go there. So I popped in to see, and I wanted to get a Beatles umbrella in a store, right? So I said to my husband, let me find out until what time they still admit people in there. So I went in there and I asked that, and then there was a guy who said, "Oh, you a Beatles fan?" Duh, yes. Well, Pete is here, is he? Okay. So how long will he be there for? Another hour? Be right back, right? So I ran out, yeah. Then went to the one of the Beatles shops to get my umbrella. I ran into Len Gary again. I said, "Hi, Len." Obviously, he didn't remember me yet. I didn't expect him to, but had a little chat again, photo with him. So that was fun. Also, because it's not expected. Got my umbrella, went to the museum. And I had Rogue on Facebook as friend, so obviously I knew a little bit about museum and stuff. And So I went up because I think I was given an interview, on one of the top floors. Pete was. So I saw Roger, said, is Pete here? And he goes like, yes, he will be out soon. So when he came out, introduced myself. I'm Maureen, and wanted to take a picture with him. So we had to then, wait a little bit because we took the picture in front of Mona Best's picture, his mother's picture, and that was a few floors lower. But it was fine, so we had a little chat. Very, very nice guy, and so unexpected again, because this was not planned, I mean, when you go to the convention and you know that there's people there, you try to see them, but this was just... It was all spontaneous, and that
it just kind of happened.
It happened, exactly, and it was like, this is awesome, right? And then in the Beatles Museum, I ran into Gary Astridge, who's the
Gary Astridge. Just had him on the show.
He is also he's a very tall guy. He's a very tall guy, and very nice as well. I already met him on the Beatles convention, had a chat with him, and so he was in the museum as well at that point in time. So he was there, and as we, know him, acted, that we knew him already for a long time. Just met him, I think, even on that same day and the day before. So like, hey Gary, how are you? And he goes like, I remember you. Didn't remember my husband, that he remembered me, because obviously, I told him the my name story. It's always a good story to tell, to people who want to know about it. And so we had a chat with Gary as well there again. Very spontaneous, very nice. So I have a lot of Beatles related great memories of meeting all those people spontaneously and planned, if you will. I mean, I have a lot of fantastic Beatles memories.
I'm going to ask you a bit of a deep question now.
Okay.
What do the Beatles mean to you?
They are part of my life. I'm not gonna say my life, because obviously, I have a life next to the Beatles. But they are, I was named after them. So the Beatles have always been in my life. They have been out of my life. They came back in, and they came back to stay. So, my early memories are Beatles related. My dad was a Beatles fan, so my whole life evolves around the Beatles. And they are my number one band. Yeah, if I'm really honest. I do have, again, obviously, I'm not only Beatles. I do love broader music. I grew up with 60s music, like the Hollies, for example.
Oh, I love the Hollies.
The Byrds, Dave D, Doze, Beaky McTitch,
Dave D, Doze, Beaky. You're the first guest I've had that has brought them up, and it's not me bringing them up.
All right. Those guys, great.
I've had Hold Tight stuck in my head for the last week.
Right.
Hold tight and a break and it's so dead. I don't even know the words. I just
exactly. But that's probably how I was actually dancing to that, because again, I said we heard Beatles day in day out, but we also heard the Hollies and
Zabadak.
Yeah, exactly. But again, the Beatles is just part of my life. I cannot deny it. I cannot get away from them, and nor do I want to, especially in this period of my life where, I'm still learning. I don't know everything about the Beatles. I know a lot. I'm interested in them. I have books. I collect memorabilia. I collect records. So there is they're just a big part of my life. So they are very important, and I cannot imagine, no pun intended, that exactly. I cannot imagine that they would not be part of my life, because I think my life would be pretty boring. And I met a lot of people. I met friends. I made new friends through the Beatles. I have my own Facebook page that I created in 3 years ago, 2017, because my love for the Beatles, and I wanted to share my love for the Beatles. I wanted to learn from people. I wanted to have, like-minded people, that I could chat about the Beatles, because, I can chat about the Beatles to my husband, but at a point, he's getting bored, I guess, right? So if you
But
talk
can
to
you talk about something else?
Exactly. So if you can talk to like-minded people, and that's why International Beatleweek, by the way, is awesome. Because it's all about the Beatles. You only hear Beatles music. It's really, really great. And
Same thing with the Fest for Beatles fans.
Yeah, it's just it's like.
Have you ever been to a fest before over here?
No. I mean, no. Unfortunately, I haven't. It's, let's say, it's on the bucket list, as Canada is on the bucket list to go to at a point in time. Yeah, one thing at a time. But yeah, no, I haven't.
Canada's not such a bad place.
No, definitely not.
You got me here, so that makes it all. Yeah.
There you go. That makes it worth exactly worth coming over. But yeah, so
excuse me while we inflate my ego.
Right. But yeah, now I lost my my trail of thought. There you go.
Oh, don't worry. That's the purpose of the show.
Oh, did I lose? Yeah. Okay. Well, okay. Yeah. It's good that you tell me now.
Yeah. 58 minutes into the interview. Thought I'd drop the bombshell on you now.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, I'm going to hit you with some quick fire questions.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, some of these you had kind of mentioned a little earlier, but I'm going to try and squeeze an answer out of you.
Okay.
Do you have a favorite Beatles song today?
Today as in today as this day.
Yeah, right now, what is your favorite Beatles song?
Yeah, again, I cannot give you one. I can give you a few.
Give me a few then. Give me a few.
Give me a few.
Top five.
Top five. Okay, well, If I Fell, already mentioned it. The Word. I must say also, I think my husband hates the song, but it's really a fun song for the benefit of Mr. Kite.
Oh, that song's awesome.
It's I really love that one. Rock and roll music, already mentioned. That is a great one, and again, not really Beatles, but it doesn't matter. You catch my drift. And I would say Imagine. Yeah.
But that's a John song.
That's a John song. Okay. Let me replace that with It's hard. It's really, really hard.
That's also a John song. It's hard.
Yeah. Okay, Julia.
That's a good one.
Yes.
All right. You had alluded to it. What is your least favorite Beatles song?
Yeah, it involves a number.
Yeah.
9.
The one after 909?
No, I love that song.
I know.
It's a cool song. I love that song. No, Revolution number 9. I must say, have you heard of the Analogs?
I have heard of I really want to see the Analogs live, but they don't really do anything over here.
They were in Liverpool in 2018 at the International Beatleweek, so I saw them there. I also saw them actually in my hometown, or where I lived before I moved into my new house. And what was I going to say? What was I going to say about it? What was your question again? Because I'm losing my trail of thought.
Oh.
Did I now get you?
Least favorite Beatles song. Least favorite Beatles song.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Revolution number 9. So they do the White Album, right?
You almost made me lose my trail of thought.
There you go.
Full circle.
So they did the White Album, and so what they cannot play Revolution number. Nobody can play Revolution number 9. It's sound. It's not a
sound collage.
Exactly.
It's barely a song.
Yeah, I cannot even say it's a song. But so they actually had an artist, a video maker, make a, let's say, video or projection for that song, because obviously, when you do the White Album, you have to go through Revolution.
I think there's a visitor behind you.
Oh, that's my husband. Taking a picture, recording. I don't know what he's doing. He's recording, so
Dual recordings.
Yeah, exactly. But he doesn't hear you because I'm on the headset.
Yeah.
But they did a video during Revolution number 9, and actually it made it interesting because
Made it bearable.
it made it interesting, not even bearable. It made it interesting because that video was odd, weird, but artistic. It was good. I was actually, and I saw the White Album. We saw that twice, yeah. So I had to endure, as you would like to say it, endure it twice. It was great. I was like, really, because you're really looking at the images, and then
you don't have to pay attention to the music,
to the sound, to the noise. Yeah. So they made that exactly. They made it interesting, definitely. So yeah, again.
I think we're alone now.
Yeah, I think he left. That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the least.
What is your favorite Beatles album?
Yeah, I don't have one. I cannot.
Top 5?
Top 5? Can I just give them all 13 and then accept Revolution number 9? No, I cannot. Sorry.
Okay, I'll just say mine again. That's what I do whenever anyone can't give an answer.
Go ahead, it's your show.
Yeah, Revolver. Revolver is scientifically the best Beatles album. I've said this once, I'll say it many, many, many times. It's scientifically the best Beatles album.
If you say so, again, I do not have a favorite. I really, any song, when I hear Beatles, I get happy, yeah?
Yeah.
So
do you have a least favorite Beatles album?
No. No, I must. Well, what I can tell you is I like the early Beatles more or better than, let's say, the newer. But again, it is not that I hate, Sgt. Pepper's and Let It Be, and it's just the feeling that it gives me. And again, this may have to do with how I grew up, and that I may have heard those songs maybe more. That is I think where the division a little bit is. If you say early or late, then I say early Beatles. Let me put it that way.
Oh, this is either gonna go really well or really bad. I just want to say to you, hartelijk bedankt.
Hartelijk bedankt.
Did I say that close enough?
It was for somebody who doesn't speak any Dutch, you did very well. Yeah. You did very well.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Likewise, thank you for having me. Again, I wasn't expected to be doing this at all at a point in time, but I had a blast. It was really, really great. Thank you for having me.
Well, life just kind of has a way.
Definitely. And that's it. I mean, it happens. Fun stuff happens with, when you're a fan of the Beatles. That happens.
Yeah.
Nothing you can do about it. You have to live with it.
Yeah, you have to live with it.
Yeah, you want to live with it. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone else out there listening. Thank you for listening. You can go home now.
Fans on the Run is produced by Ethan Alexanian. Additional voiceovers by Richard Phillip. This has been a Showtown production.